Good morning, Starshines. My name is DH, my pronouns are they, them, and I play cozy games. And I knit and crochet and do a bit of bullet journaling, and some other stuff too. Every Monday evening on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/thecozydh, is our weekly crafty chat. Bring your project, bring something to stay hydrated with, but most importantly, just bring yourself. Each week, I'll post highlights from the stream, any tips I give, or just show off what I'm working on. To see more and join the conversation, follow me on Twitch to know when Crafty Chat goes live, and then join us. I can't wait to see ya. Alright guys, so I asked you, and now there's a few more people here. So how many WIPs do you have? WIPs being works in progress, WIP. I know Toot has one WIP. Toot claims that they suffer from startitis just as badly as the rest of us, but possesses more discipline in order to keep the startitis at bay by finishing projects. So Sage has over 20. Orchid has, I'm going to say, at least 2. Mangoes, it counts however it counts in your heart. 2 shells, a cowl, and a pillow. But You Got My Soul has 3. Okay. Alright, not too bad. Moon has 2, but one's in hibernation. So some people, they make a distinction between a UFO, an unfinished object, and a WIP. Whereas like a WIP is something you're actively working on, but a UFO is an unfinished object that's just kind of chilling in its unfinished state and it's not getting worked on. I don't really differentiate between the two. I have them all as WIPs. So this is my crafting log, which you guys might be familiar with. You've probably seen this before. I show it off every now and then. But every month I opened it right to the right page. Every month I do a spread like this, which is just, I have a section for goals, which I haven't filled in. And then my little 23 and 23 tracker here. And then a list of my current WIPs. So this is everything that I have on the needles. I count stuff that I'm not actively working on. Some of this stuff has not been touched in months. And yes, this month's theme, it's back to school, but it's the 90s and your mom bought you the big pack of stickers. That's my theme. So all of my books have like this wonderful Lisa Frank theme going on. So we're going to go through, I'm going to show you guys every single one of these WIPs. And we're going to talk about them and see where they're at and see why I'm not working on them or see what I am working. I keep my WIPs in 2 different places. I have several. So most of the storage in our house is the IKEA Calyx shelves, the square shelves that everybody in the world has. And Sterilite makes like a 26.5 liter clear plastic tub that fits perfectly inside those calyxes. So pretty much everything we own is in a Sterilite 26.5 liter tub. So I have 2 of those for my WIPs. And then everything that I'm currently actively working on lives in my desk drawers. I have just to this side of my desk. So this is my desktop right here. And just on that side of the desk, I have 4 drawers. They're pretty deep because we made a mistake when we were putting the drawers together. There should actually be 5 drawers. But I put the tracks on upside down. Oops. So the top drawer holds all like my needles and notions and that kind of thing. And then the second 2 drawers hold my WIPs. And then the bottom drawer is for medication. So the top drawer is shallower, and that's where I keep like my socks and stuff like that. Just little projects that don't take up a lot of room. So in my top drawer, everything's just kind of rolling around loose. In the second drawer, I actually just picked up 2 of these little bins from Miniso. They are Mickey Mouse bins. You can see that they've got the little Mickey Mouse there. They're doing like a whole line of Steamboat Willies type stuff. So these actually, 2 of them fit perfectly into that drawer, which is, it's great. So that keeps like all my bottles from rolling around and everything like that. So, all right, so let's get started. I'm going to start with the cross stitch, just because they're on top. All right, so we've got my first cross stitch here, which is a Northern Lights Aurora Borealis. So the Northern Lights will be here, and then the there's like a deer here. I started this one because I wanted to try something that was full coverage, and I just needed a break from my other piece. As you can see, I didn't get very far with it. I actually didn't get this cover thing. It's a grime guard, so I use the Q-snap frames, but sometimes you're holding stuff and then the fabric is kind of grubby because you're touching it so much, just finger oils and stuff. So this is a grime guard. It's just got a little bit of elastic. It's open at the back, so you can stitch right through it. And actually, Moon made this for me. One of her very first sewing projects. So I was very happy to be the recipient of that. So yeah, I haven't gotten very far on this one. I've gotten so not very far that I actually don't have a page for it in my crafting log yet, which I realized when I was preparing for the stream that I hadn't actually made a spread for it. So I can't remember when I started this. I know it was probably the end of July. But I don't know exactly when. Or near. And this probably isn't going to get worked on for a while. It's going to be a big project. I think I'm going to stop doing this little parking method business and go back to cross country. This eventually is going to be 9,000 stitches, which is a lot of stitches. WIP number 2. This is also cross stitch. I only have 2 cross stitch WIPs. This one is huge. It is a snake in a lavender wreath. And this one I actually do have in my notebook. So let's just take a look at my log here. Snake in lavender is on page 132. All right, page 132. This was started on the 18th of June. It's on loops and threads, 14 count Ada in black. I'm using DMC. And my notes for this project are, heck the confetti sparkles, I refuse to learn pin stitches. And the pattern is from Wild Bluebell Patterns on Etsy. So I've actually been grooving along on this. I finished the body of the snake a couple days ago, and then I started working on the wreath, which is the most annoying thing I've ever done. So this is one of my active WIPs. I had a little bit of wrist pain, and I wasn't able to really do much knitting for quite a while. Not quite a while, a few days. It felt like forever. So I've been cross stitching instead. And yeah, I'm just gonna keep working my way around. I'm almost at the point where I have to move the Q-snap. As you can see, I cut my Ada incredibly close to the actual design. So I'm kind of praying that I have some clearance on the other 3 sides. We're hoping. 10 count Ada and a prayer. The next one is this big entry, which is titled Moonifer, because our very own moon phased is moving shortly. And we'll need a whole bunch of stuff for their new condo. And this is what we do. We make new stuff for Moon's condo. So I started this on the 25th of August. It's a combination of knit and crochet. I'm doing a whole bunch of little things. living in its own box, which I'm going to hold awkwardly like this because it's got my address on the top, so I don't want to do that. Basically, I am currently working on a basket. So this is going to be like a big scrap basket. You can set it by the couch, yeet stuff into it. Just something for a little bit of extra storage. I have a couple of hot pads. They've got the crescent moon on one side, full moon on the other. And then I'm doing a pile of ball band dishcloths. So still working on these guys. They'll all have this like royal blue striping with a different ball band color. We've got the bubbling cauldron coasters. Let's see, what else is in my box for Moon? I've got I don't know where they went, but I'm making toys for Yuna as well. So yeah, so I've been working on that, just lots of little stuff, throwing it all in there. Like I said, I haven't been doing a lot of knitting and knitting and crochet lately because of the wrist. You can actually see I've got my wrist taped up. I did a K-tape tutorial on carpal tunnel support, and I actually linked it in our Discord in the crafting channel. It is so fantastic. It's been really helping. Like it's a surprising amount of support for a little bit of tape. So I haven't been working on that as much as I wanted to, but I finished one dishcloth earlier today, and I just got started on another one. So I'm very happy about that. All right, so that's three WIPs. We're doing the full confessional today, guys. This is everything. Everything. So let's take a look at some small stuff. We're looking at the chicken scratch socks next. That is these. As you can see, this is a self-striping yarn, and it's a dip stitch pattern. So you get these nice elongated V's, but it's quite stretchy because it's basically a 3x2 rib. And the pattern is called Chicken Scratch. I'm using Patton's Croy in Gentry Gray for the cuff, toes, and heels. And then this is Lazy Lion, Kremke Lazy Lion in the colorway Highland. Makes you think of bees. Yeah, I'm very excited to see how this works up. I've had this Lazy Lion in my stash for so long that I haven't actually used it because it's a self-striping and I haven't really known what to use it for, but the self-striping has worked perfectly with this dip stitch pattern. Like, I really love it. So that's as far as I got on that. But these go by very fast. They're very potato chippy. So I'll probably get back to those soon. That project I started on the 23rd of August. Let's see. They are the chicken scratch socks from Backwoods Knits. In the for field, I put, I will not be taking questions. And then I just have some details on what size I cast on and everything like that. But I love them. I just cast them on because I wanted to cast them on. Basically, I had no plans. I'd seen them while I was in the hospital, and I was like, I love these. I have the perfect yarn for them. And yeah, I cast them on because they made me happy in the moment. And yeah, I will finish them. We'll get there slowly. This is an old project. So I have to go like all the way back to the beginning of my book pretty much. Because I'm pretty sure this project was started last year. Started 19th of August, 2022. I will finish them eventually. I promise. So this is a pair of knee socks for the R4 Toot. I have measured, remeasured, and then remeasured again her legs so they will be perfectly fitted. I'm doing them 2 at a time. I've still got maybe 4 inches to go before I get to the heel. So it's just a self-striping yarn. I'm doing vanilla knee highs with a black Patton's Croy. I'm going to do an Afterthought bullseye heel and then a black toe as well. So the heel is also going to be in black, and that way I won't interrupt the striping. But I this is kind of my I don't know what else to work on, or I need something to work on in public project. Because they're just straight vanilla stockinette. I don't have to do any thinking or anything like that, which means I've been working on them very slowly because I haven't prioritized them over other projects. But I always keep them at the top of my drawer. I really want to get a lot of work in on them soon. Don't know if I'm going to get them done for this Halloween, but I definitely want to get them done soon. And now that I'm past the decreases for the back of the calf, I think they'll go a lot faster. So I've decreased down to 64 stitches, which is a standard sock. So at this point, I'm just knitting a vanilla sock. And Toot has small feet, so once I get past the heel, they should go pretty fast. Like, Toot's feet are a good 2.5 inches shorter than mine, so I like making socks for her because they go a lot faster. But then I never work on them because I'm terrible at prioritizing. So let's move on. So we went from the oldest. I'm pretty sure this is the oldest WIP I have. And this is the yarn band, by the way. When possible, I like to preserve the yarn band in my notebook with all of the information. So that was the Halloween sock wool. You've got the composition there, 75% superwash wool, 25% polyamide. And then it has all of the care instructions, all of the information on the yarn there. And then I'll make sure I record the color as well. And if it's important, I'll record the dye lot so that I can get the same yarn. The Rosenlund top is another. I saw it and I was kind of immediately obsessed with it. And I knew I had exactly the right yarn for it. And I was not in the greatest of headspaces. So I cheered myself up with a new cast on. And I am absolutely obsessed. Unfortunately, I think this is the project that broke my wrist. Or at least strained my wrist. And then I had to take a break because I was working on it nonstop for like 3 days. And rest is a good thing. So this yarn is Drops Flora. And Drops is a Scandinavian brand. I believe it's Norwegian. But it's very readily available in Europe. It's not so readily available here. And in Europe, it's incredibly cheap. So actually in a lot of places in like the Norwegian, Danish, Finnish areas, it's easier to get 100% wool than it is to get acrylic, which here acrylic is what you're going to find when you go to all the stores. So it's a lot harder to find 100% wool. Totally reversed over there. So I've been wanting to try Drops for a really long time. It's not super expensive here, but it is hard to get my hands on, and I don't have a yarn budget. So someone very kindly sent me 6 balls of the Drops Flora. So I've had this Flora and I don't know what to use it for. I want it to be the perfect project, you know? And I got 6 balls of it, which is about 1,200 yards, which isn't enough for a sweater for me, because I am plus size, and that requires more yarn, obviously. If I was a small or an extra small, 1,200 yards would get me a sweater, no problem. So the Rosenlund top. It's a sleeveless top. I'm going to wear it as like a sweater vest with a button down. Oh, it's so gorgeous. Sari Nordland is the designer, known for very complex, beautifully delicate knits. So this is what I have so far. This is so really it's going to look like this because this is the top of the back. It is gorgeous and it feels so nice. So it starts off with this moss stitch panel into this like little lacy panel, honeycomb cables, more lace and cables, and then repeats. And then, so this is the back, and then the front will have the same motif, and then just pick up for ribbing around the sides. So I really only barely started this. And honestly, doing this much took me about 3 days. So it's going to be a very long-term project, but I'm obsessed. It's working up so beautifully. I love it. The wool is so squishy. It feels just wonderful in my hands. I love it. I cast it on for self-care and it really delivered. All right. Next thing we're going to talk about is another old project, the Good Guys pullover. And I'll call this the Good Guys pullover. I'll call it my Chucky pullover. It's all the same thing. It is, of course, based on my boy, my love, Chucky. Here we go. So this was the inspiration, Chucky from the Child's Play movies. I'm doing a modified flax. So using the flax by Tin Can Knits as kind of my base pattern, but made quite a few modifications for it. So it's basically just a top-down raglan. Slightly ballooned sleeves with a double knit folded collar. And I'm using just a Hobby Amigo. It's a DK weight solid yarn. I did a lot of color matching to get all the correct colors. So this is another active WIP. I kind of am switching off. I was switching off between this and Munifer's housewarming gift, and then I kind of abandoned my Good Guys and started the Rosenlund. So it does get some love, but we're on body continent, so. So it's not looking like much now, but we have 2 completed sleeves. And you can see that they do come in quite a bit. I basically didn't do any decreases on the sleeves until I got to the cuff. I just like that kind of slightly balloon look a little bit more. Yeah, the colors are great. Like the color palette itself is fantastic. Even if you don't know it's a Chucky reference, the colors are still good. So we've got the yoke down, 2 sleeves down. I just have to do the body. I think it's going to be about 9 stripes. And I am almost through 1 stripe of the body. So the yoke ends at the end of the green. And I've just done this little bit of the sky blue. So I've got 9 stripes left to go, and then the cuff, and then this one's done. So this is actually probably the most doable of my WIPs to finish in short order, which of course means I'm not going to work on it for like 6 months. Look, I am what I am. And this is just straight stockinette. I'm doing the color switching every 4 rows. Every 2 or 4 rows, depending on where I am. But otherwise, it's just straight stockinette in the round. No increases, no decreases. It's just going around and around and around and around in a circle really, really fast. I severely overbought the white and the green. And I think I underbought the pink and the light blue. So it's gonna be a little bit of a race to the finish, and then I'm gonna have a lot of leftovers of random colors. I also have just random little bits of Chucky memorabilia. Like this is supposedly an adult crop top. It's a good, guys. More Chucky yarn. So all this is part of Chucky. All of it. We already went over Chucky. So the next whip up is going to be another old one. This is my Music Man pullover. And DJ Music Man is a character from Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. And he has a very distinct color palette. So there's a picture of DJ Music Man there. I am using Loops and Threads Impeccable. And I picked out kind of like Toot picked out the palette. And I'm doing a hoodie. It's got crazy sleeves and then the plain black hoodie. And then the hood will be bordered in white. So these are the sleeves. So I don't think my lighting is doing justice to just how neon these sleeves are. So these are actually done two at a time in the round as one gigantic tube. I am going to cut them down this steek. I'm going to cut them down this steek and then sew them together. So this is both sleeves. I did them both at the same time. Yeah, I'll try and share some pictures because like this is quite neon. So these are going to be the sleeves, and then the body of the hoodie is going to be black. I've done about 6 inches of the hoodie, but I ran out of black yarn and I just haven't picked up more. It's from Michael's. I just need to go and do it. But it got put on hold because I don't have any more yarn. Like I knit until I ran out, and then it got put on hold. So sleeves are done. 6 inches of the body are done. And then we just need to do the hood. So this is the body so far, but it's very boring. It's a black tube. That's all. I've done more than 6 inches. I've done quite a bit. All right, good to know. It's still just a black tube. And huge shout out to Toot, who helped me get all of this organized a couple weeks ago and made it all fit into 2 boxes. It was in more. So she's probably cringing as I'm undoing all of her good hard work, but big shout out to Toot for helping me organize. Oh yes, and DJ Music Man was started 21 July 2022. So I started it last July. I frogged it completely in March, 17 March of this year. And then I restarted it on that day. And then since March I've done what you've seen. So this is the writer's block cardigan by World Knits. A friend of mine, Tone, I actually don't know how to pronounce her name. It's Norwegian. It's lovely. She's a lovely person. Bought me the pattern. I started this on the 28th of March of this year. It's a striped cardigan done in garter stitch kind of sideways. And you use a solid mohair and then a self-striping. So I don't actually have any mohair because it doesn't tend to agree with me. And so I'm using, this is Fluffy Day from Hobby. It's a 100% acrylic. So it behaves very much like a worsted held with a lace weight mohair. But it's just super soft and it's got that fluff. So this is a sleeve, actually. But you can see the way that the striping plays. So I've got the solid kind of jade color, and then the self-striping is Yarbo Cookie in Bohemian. No, in Meadow. And it's just got this beautiful stripe going through it. So the whole cardigan's going to be like this. However, I only have one sleeve done since March. It's okay. It'll all get done. It's only yarn. The problem is I get really excited about stuff, and then I get really excited about something else, and then I get really excited about something else. I'm really hoping the fact that I'm on Vyvanse now will help. So yes, so I have a single sleeve, and then I have like maybe 2 inches of the next sleeve done, and that's about all I've managed to do since March. But I will pick it up again because it's so lovely and soft. Like, it is just this fabric, between the garter stitch and the fluffy day, it's so just squashy. Like, you just want to squeeze it. Okay, we're going to continue. So these are some smaller projects. This one, I actually do feel quite a bit of guilt over because, again, it's for Toot. Again, I started it last year, and again, I really want to get it done. And yeah, I think maybe I just need to pull it out and just like work on it for half an hour a day until it's done. Do that kind of thing. I'm really excited about it. And that's the thing. Like, I'm really excited about all of these projects. I went through and I frogged the ones that I wasn't excited about and that kind of thing. And yeah, sometimes the best way to finish a WIP is to frog it. If it's not causing you joy, it's just knitting. It's just a hobby. It should be fun. So Early is showing off the page for my sandworm socks. These are my sandworm socks. They are based on the pattern Hiss by Emma Bermudez, who I'm sure you've seen in Emma Bermudez pattern. She does all kinds of animal socks. They are super cute. I started these on the 29th of December, 2022. I am doing them out of Loops and Thread Woolite, which is an acrylic yarn, which isn't always the best for socks. However, Toot does have wool sensitivities, so it is the best for socks for her. It's a fingering weight yarn, but it's a very light fingering. And because it is 100% acrylic, it's also quite soft. So I'm holding it double. So they're making like more of a DK weight heavy duty sock, which is great because I want them to have a bit of structure. The sandworms from Beetlejuice. So her knee would be here, and then you have the sandworm jaw, and then this will continue down the leg as a knee high, and then just a heel and a foot as normal. And then I'll add some like eyes and the little red flecks, and they've all got, and they're gonna add some red lips and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think I started these like so many times. I think I've reknit these jaws I don't know how many times before. I kind of like was happy with how they turned out, and then as soon as I figured out how to get them the way that I wanted, I put them down. So I need to get back to those. And I'm doing them, like I said, double stranded on a 3mm. Now this one, if you've been to Monday Night Crafty Chat regularly, or well, if you happen to catch these particular streams, I've shown this on stream before. This was an Advent knit that I started for last Christmas and gave up after about 8 days. Are you sensing a theme? So this lovely shawl, it's an Advent shawl. So there are 24 sections, and they're meant to be knit. So with 24 mini skeins, which yarn advents are pretty common. It's 24 mini skeins from a dyer. You open them one a day during December, leading up to Christmas. And so this pattern is designed to work with those. So this pattern, you're meant to do one section a day in your new yarn. There's 24 sections, and each section's a little bit different. So like this one's garter stitch, and this is like a treble stitch, and then we've got some lace and that kind of thing. So my plan is to actually pick this back up in December and see if I can keep up with it on a daily basis. We'll see how I'm doing. We'll see how I'm feeling. It might not happen. Might happen. I'm not too worried about it. I do really enjoy working on it. I've got the rest of the balls of yarn. So you can see I'm doing kind of this first bit in the rainbow. I've got the rest of my yarn balled up, labeled, ready to go. So when I do pick it up, I won't have to do any brain work. So this one isn't very high priority for me. I'm only on section like 9. Yeah. But it'll get done eventually someday. It'll be fun. It'll be like a fun, crazy, rainbowy experience. All right. So the second to last, the penultimate WIP. I took this off the needles. I was like, where are the needles? I took them off to use them in a different project. So that can tell you how much I've been working on this project. This is also deep in hibernation. I got kind of like weirdly intimidated by it. This is my Nakraga pullover. It's been kind of a dream knit for me. It's from Alice Starmore's book on Aran knitting. And I love her patterns. They're beautiful. But none of them are sized appropriately for me. And like you can almost forgive it for the pattern books from the 80s and the 90s. But it's starting to get a little ridiculous. So however, I did manage to get gauge in such a way that I can just knit the largest size and it'll fit me because my gauge is significantly larger. So this is the Nakraga pullover. It's a beautiful all over cabled pullover. I'm using this. It's called Gray Heather is the name of the yarn, but it's this beautiful seafoam green with gray. And I got intimidated by it because it's all over cables, but they actually aren't that difficult to memorize. Because you start with this. You start with this little like broken rib section, and then there's a braid cable, a honeycomb, a braid, some antlers, a braid, a honeycomb, a braid, and then the broken rib. I know I went through that pretty fast, but it's not. They're not complicated patterns, and there's not a lot of them. So it's actually quite easy to remember the repeat. I got really super intimidated by it. So I do want to go back to this again. Probably after I get some other stuff off the needles. Like I'm not feeling a huge urge to work on this. This is more something that I want to have the finished object than I want to be working on it right at this second. Also, it's 100% wool. I'm using my very favorite wool of all time. My favorite yarn of all time is Briggs & Little Heritage. It's 100% wool, which was not so much fun for working on during the summer. I started this on the 11th of April. I worked on it like mad for like 2 weeks. And then gave up. A theme. So this will go back into rotation at some point because once I get going on it, it will be quite fast because like I said, it's an easy to remember repeat. It on big needles and big yarn. It's going to work up quickly. It's like I said, all over cabled, so it's but it's a fairly simple silhouette. It's a drop shoulder. There's no kind of weird shoulder shaping, anything like that. It's a very straightforward project. Um, so it will get back on the needles eventually. And then the very last WIP, which I've started this project and ripped it out and started it and ripped it out and started it and ripped it out. And the only reason I have it as a current WIP and not as something to make in the future is because I made part of it, but like such a small part. Let me show you guys. So as you know, I am a giant child, and I am making a Triceratops hoodie. So this is just going to be a plain green hoodie with a Triceratops horns on the head and like the little like crest, and then some horns along the sleeves. I have made all the Triceratops bits. So these are all the horns and the crest and everything like that. I've made that out of crochet. And the furthest I've gotten on the rest of the project is like 10 inches of sleeve. I'm doing the sleeves 2 at a time at least. So there is that. So this is a beautiful yarn. You thought it was broccoli for a second? Yeah. This is a beautiful yarn. So incredibly far out of my price range. I got it as yarn support for a design I did for Knitty. It is Dream in Color Mammoth in the colorway Tart, which has been discontinued for quite a few years. Dream in Color is a line of hand dyed, and it's 100% wool, and it's quite pricey. And I have a lot of it because I am a large person and needed a lot of it. My lighting is washing everything out, but this is quite neon in person. It very much lives up to the name Tart. So yeah, so all I've done is a little bit of the sleeves and the Triceratops bits. And really this will also go quite fast when I'm actually working on it because it's a bulky yarn and I'm working on 8mm needles. 8mm needles. So it works up quite quickly. I just need to work on it. But it hasn't been holding my interest, and I want it, but I don't want it badly enough to work on it. That kind of thing. But I also want it I don't not want it badly enough to frog it, if that makes sense. Like I still want it. I just don't want it right now. But if I frogged it and put it back into stash and made it not a WIP, then I would just be redoing the work I've already done later on. So it's a WIP. It's a long-standing WIP. Actually, we can see how long-standing. All right. So I started this originally on the 22nd of December. I frogged it on the 21st of March, and I restarted it on the that either says the 80th or the 20th of April. So I'm guessing the 20th of April of 2023. I've got some notes here. And I've got further notes. I actually wrote the full pattern that I'm going to be using. I did all the math and everything like that. And wrote it out in my Notion spread. Because I like writing patterns, so I just wrote a quick and dirty pattern. The 80th, the 80th of April, I'm sure that's what I meant. So that's it. 13 WIPs. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was kind of fun for me just seeing where everything's at, and remembering how I felt about things when I started them, and like why I started them, and that kind of thing. I know I have more WIPs than most people. There's a whole thing about like being a multi-crafter and being project monogamous. I can't even say the word monogamous. I'm so non-project monogamous. Um, but there's a whole there's lots of people on either side. I have had well over 20 before. I've also only had one. There was a point a couple of years ago when I got down to one WIP. I only had my Star Wars cardigan on the needles, but then I kind of had some life events and just I use casting on new projects as self-care. So when I get startitis, it's usually because something is going on in my life and I need a distraction, I need a new project, I need a new shiny. And that's usually when I end up with all kinds of WIPs. The problem is I also suffer from project FOMO, so if I see something, I want it. Or if I have an idea, I want to make it. I design a lot of my own patterns. Like you'll notice several of like the DJ Music Man hoodie and the Triceratops hoodie. Those are my own designs. The Sandworm socks are pretty much my own designs. The Halloween socks, those are my own design. The Chucky sweater was mostly my own design. Yeah, I like making stuff out of my brain, and then it's really hard for me to not immediately start a project when I have the idea and I have the yarn and I want to start it. So I'm always in this like turmoil of I want to start things, but also I get stressed when I have too many things on the needles, especially when they're for other people. But also the new project dopamine is very real, and knitting is my hobby and should be enjoyable and shouldn't have too many limits and restrictions on it. So it's a constant back and forth battle. But I think like the 13 to 15 range for WIPs is pretty good for me. And usually I'm only actively working on 2 or 3, maybe 4, because it just kind of depends on where my brain is at. If I can, like the Sari Nordland pattern, the Rosenlund top, it's beautiful, but it's quite complicated. So I need something easy. So I have like Toots Halloween socks, which are just vanilla, go around in a circle. My Chucky pullover, also vanilla, go around in a circle. So I kind of need a mix of big projects and little projects and spicy projects and vanilla projects and knit projects and crochet projects, cross stitch projects. So, and then when I have like too many things from one category, then they get bumped to kind of like long-standing WIPs. Like I have my really complicated Rosenlund pattern, so my Nakraga is in storage. And then I have my vanilla Chucky pullover, so my vanilla hoodies are in storage. That kind of thing. That's it for the video. If you like the content, please like the video. Subscribe for more cozy gaming and crafting highlights. If you want to see more, join the community on twitch.tv/thecozydh or check out our Discord. Thanks for watching, and keep twinkling below, Starshine.